So for this assignment, we are practicing filling in tables of values. Now, oftentimes, when we make a table of values, we include a column in between the X and the Y column that tells us exactly what we're doing with the X value. Okay, and that all comes from the equation. So when I look at this equation, it says that we're taking X and we're adding 3 to it. So each one of the X values, we're going to add 3. So I'm going to do that off to the side. So normally I would have room for this in between the X and the Y. Okay. And so all I have to do is plug in, substitute in each of the X values, and then add 3 to those to get my Y value. So the first X value is -5. And I add 3 to that. Now remember, we've got a negative and a positive, and we're trying to combine them. If you think about being on a number line, let's say we're over here at -5. Let me get my pointer. We're over here at -5, and I move 3 to the positive direction. Where do I land? I land at -2. Okay, that's the process of adding a negative and a positive. So it's still negative because there were more negatives than positive, but it's a -2. The second X value is 0, and I add 3 to that, and I get a +3. So I got -2 here, a +3 here. Third X value is 4. I add 3 to that, I get 7. Okay. So now all I have to do is take those points and plot them on the graph. Okay, if you remember anything about the y-intercept is that number that we're adding after the x. So there's the number we're adding. Y-intercept means that that's a point on the line and it falls exactly on the y-axis. That is this point right here. But we're going to plot all 3 of them. So I'm going to go to the left 5 and down 2 and put a point there. And I go to the left 0 and up 3 and put a point here. And to the right 4 and up 7 and put another point there. Now, what we've been talking about is systems of equations. So if there were a line that crossed this line at one of these specific points or any other point, then we would refer to that location where the 2 lines cross as the solution to that system. Okay, but I mainly wanted to focus on this because what I noticed, not on your CFA because most of you did not do the CFA, which you still need to do, but on the CFA for those people that were present in person, I noticed a lot of them were struggling with the idea of filling out a table of values based on the equation. Okay, but I could have a simple, if I drew another line in there, I'll draw it in red, that also goes through that same y-intercept. Then I would call that y-intercept the solution. Okay, so in that case, if I did have that red line, I would have the point 0, 3 as my solution. Okay, just wanted to remind you of the process of finding a solution. And I'm going to do that a couple times with these problems. Okay, the next one. Next one says that we are taking every x and we are multiplying it by -2. So it's going to change the sign and double each of the values. So if I plug in a -4, 2 times 4 is 8, and negative times negative is positive. Then I plug in a 0. Anything times 0 is 0. And then I plug in a +3. -2 times +3 is -6. So I have 8, 0, and -6. Okay, and then I'm going to take those and I'm going to plot them. Left 4 and up 8 puts me right here at the top of the graph. 0, 0, so it goes through the origin. And we already knew it went through the origin, at least those of us that have studied, because there's no adding of a number there. When we don't see a plus, like we did with the last one, +3, that means it's technically adding 0. And we don't have to show that because adding 0 has no effect. And then finally, my last point is right 3 and down 6. And if I line those up, all 3 of those points fall on that straight line. And again, don't be concerned if you miss just slightly. You don't have to redraw it and be perfect. The idea is that you understand that that is creating a straight line. Every one of these equations is going to create a straight line. Okay? Now, if I had another line that crossed through one of these points, again, that point where that other line crosses through, let's say it's this line right here. Down 1, left 3, up 1, right 3. So that line right there. That point, right 1, down 2, would be my solution. Okay, and I'm not going to ask you to actually find a solution to some other random line, but I just want to continue to emphasize the point of solution to a system, because that's what we're working on right now. All right, what's happening to the x? We are taking 3 and multiplying it by x and adding 1 to that result. Okay, and you've got to practice this. You've got to work on really trying hard to plug in the values, substitute them in, and use a calculator if necessary. +3 times -3 is -9. And again, I use the same principle. If I'm over here at -9 and I move back 1, that puts me at -8. Then I have +3 times 0 plus 1. 3 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. +3 times 2 plus 1 is 6 plus 1, which is 7. So I end up with -8. 1, not 0. And +7. Okay, so from the origin, I'm going to go left 3 and down 8. Right 0 and up 1. And right 2 and up 7. And there's your graph. Okay, number 4. What are we doing to the x? We are taking negative x, or the opposite of x, and subtracting 2. Now, what we've always said when we have a negative sign in front of the x with no number there, there is a 1 in between. So I'm going to put that 1 there. So that really means I'm taking -1 and multiplying it by whatever the x value is. First x value is -3. And again, multiplying by a negative just changes the sign. And then 1 times 3 is 3. So I have 3 minus 2, which is 1. -1 times 0. Take away 2. -1 times 0 is 0. Minus 2 is -2. And -1 times 4. -1 times +4 is -4. -4 minus 2 more is -6. Remember, if you have like signs, you want to add the two numbers and keep the sign. So we get 1, -2, and -6. Left 3 up 1. 0, -2. And right 4 down 6. If you accidentally got the sign wrong on this last point and you made it a +6, you would go right 4 and up 6, And you can see that that's not on that line. If you connect these 2 points, it's not going to fall on that line. Okay, so notice something between the last two. The slope for number 2, problem number 2, is a positive 3. And you can see that as the line goes from the left to the right, it's rising. The slope for this line is a negative 1. And you can see that as it goes from left to right, it falls. Okay, and we're going to take a look at a couple of them during our class today to get you on the right track. And the rest of them will be yours to complete. Finish these ones using my notes and then complete the rest of the problems.